Scientology is about spirituality. It's about salvation. It's about understanding who I really am, where I come from, where I'm going, who or what God is. Am I immortal? Can I know if I'm immortal? We say yes. And that's why we see ourselves as a spiritual community and a church.
Scientology sees illness as a suppressed act. If you're ill, then you must have done something bad. Regardless of whether the person is ill or handicapped, Scientology has no compassion. The people I know that are Scientologists, and I know hundreds, I have family who are Scientologists, they are all more successful, they make more money, they have more possessions, they have happier families.
Scientology is an anti-democratic organization, a totalitarian system that has created a parallel universe in Germany and other parts of the world. That's Scientology.
Scientology. While followers praise the movement as their true religion, others who have turned their backs on it tell of brainwashing, exploitation and violence. At first glance, Scientology's image resembles that of a modern industrial company. It is undisputed that at the center of the sect's activities is the dissemination and sale of Scientological techniques that are supposed to turn people into immortal beings for a new civilization. The movement was founded in the early 1950s by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard and has since grown into a worldwide network with ambitious plans for expansion. Scientology has many faces. An ambience of luxury and the flair of the rich and the beautiful. Major events organized by Scientology are a magnet for superstars like Tom Cruise. Actors, sporting celebrities, musicians. In Scientology, they are both perpetrators and victims. The organization adorns itself with their image of success, for which they then pay five-figure sums. Internationally, membership numbers are put at around 500,000, with about 10,000 in Germany. Scientologists wax lyrical when speaking of the cult's founder, L. Ron Hubbard. One example is prominent model Scientologist Edith Ruvini.
I think we're very fortunate that we had Mr. Hubbard. There are a lot of great men in history, not just to make less of them, and there's a lot of great men that are out there, but how many took their life and took as much time as Mr. Hubbard, and he put all his time and effort into just developing this religion and this information in the books and all these things just so that we would have it to make sure that we could have a better life.
L. Ron Hubbard, born 1911, died 1986, after a life as colorful as one of Scientology's own brochures. While his followers fate him as a scientific genius, in reality, the young man from Nebraska dropped out of George Washington University without completing his studies. Later, he worked as a writer, and in 1950 published Dianetics, the book that was to become the basis for his doctrine. For some, L. Ron Hubbard was a charlatan. For others, like the vice president of Scientology International, Robert B. Adams, a savior.
L. Ron Hubbard was a great man. He always considered himself a man. He liked to be called Ron. He never considered himself a god or a deity or anything, not even a sage or a prophet. He was a man, and he was a researcher. He studied life from the time he was a little boy all the way until the time he passed on. He's great from this perspective. His main goal was to help man to help himself spiritually.
A very clever madman. And he knew what he wanted, and he used the occult and black magic to get what he wanted. And the Scientologists are the victims of that ambition. That's what I think.
This is Hubbard's doctrine. In every person is a thetan, immortal spirit beings that were exiled to Earth millions of years ago. Here they try to attain their former abilities from one reincarnation to the next. The most effective tool is Scientology.
It's interesting to look at it in retrospect and to see that that was really very silly. But it's science fiction sold as religion. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Very expensive religion.
The Frankfurt Book Fair. The Scientology stands are a mix of entertainment, UFO romanticism, and self-help books. At the heart of the writings of L. Ron Hubbard stands a galactic struggle between good and evil. The baddie is identified as a ruler named Xenu, fusing faith and science to one entity. Ex-Scientologists tell of teachings that beggar belief.
Hubbard says that 75 million years ago, in a civilization near here, there were 76 planets, all of which had too many people. And so Xenu, who was the evil leader, decided to solve overpopulation by killing most of the population. And so he invited them in for a tax audit, and he would then kill them or put them into paralysis, and he would transport all of these people, billions and billions and billions and billions of people, to here, to Earth. And then he would put them around the base of volcanoes, about 12 different volcanoes, and then he put an atom bomb to blow them all up. And then when the spirits are coming out of the bodies, when the bodies are all dead but the spirits are still alive, then he puts them into electronic traps, into little boxes at the bottom of the hot volcanoes now, like a big cinema. And he shows them really bad movies for 36 days. So he shows them really bad movies for 36 days. It sounds so stupid, doesn't it?
So imagine, you imagining that you're covered with dead space aliens, or dead thetans as they call them, which are dead spirits, 24/7 for months and months and months.
Then all these thetans can go around and they can go into humans, right? And so each human being has thousands or millions of body thetans inside the body who have this implant.
Madness, utopia, or a new way of liberating enslaved souls? How effective is L. Ron Hubbard's doctrine? At the heart of Scientology lies so-called auditing, a particular way of asking questions that is supposed to deal with fears and frustrations from this or a past life. It's Scientology's most important tool for liberating people on the way to becoming thetan superbeings.
It's our form of spiritual guidance. It mostly takes the form of questions to the member, who answers according to their knowledge or conscience.
Auditing is really the core religious experience that is exercised in our religion. Auditing is a one-on-one counseling session we call auditing, which means to listen. An auditor asks questions to the individual who's receiving auditing, and the benefit is that they find their own answers to their existence to make their lives better and to improve.
Auditing, an effective technique for self-therapy? Expressing problems, letting oneself go. It sounds great. But what is experienced when traveling back in time to what are supposed to be previous lives?
There are celebrity figures, if you like, that are very popular with Scientologists that repeatedly come up in previous incarnations. They're mostly positive, like Crusaders, Pirates, Jesus Christ. There's lots of them, almost 50%.
You withdraw into yourself. Your eyes are shut. You have to imagine it's a bit like hypnosis. Things occur to you. I'd say it's something like false memory. Many people believe they were Jesus or Napoleon. I haven't met a Hitler yet, and under these circumstances, stories like that come out.
The essential tool for auditing is the so-called e-meter, which is supposed to help localize emotional tensions and then overcome them with the auditor. While critics see the e-meter as a form of lie detector, for Scientologists, it's the key to happiness.
During the process of auditing, they come across experiences from the past that lie outside their current existence and observe them. Recognizing and processing these experiences means that in the present they develop more affinity and love for their fellow human beings, as well as greater understanding, security, happiness and self-confidence.
So when I look at my own history, for example, I was proud to have been a companion of Agamemnon in ancient Greece, a samurai, a great shogun. Thinking about it now, it's really... you can only laugh about it because it's so childish. You only believe in it at the time.
Glendale, California, 201 Broadway. This is the head office of the Way to Happiness. Behind the intriguing title is in fact a Scientology outreach organization. We've arranged to meet Tracy Morrow. The young Scientologist is an activist with Youth for Human Rights, which attracts attention with peace marches all over Europe. The organization presents itself as a champion of religious freedom.
What we do is we actually go into the schools and we actually deliver seminars to the young people, or we teach the teachers how to teach human rights. And we show the videos on TV. We go over it with the young people. We have them do things like skits, work out how does this actually apply to their life, so they actually learn to identify human rights violations and also to respect other people's human rights.
The commitment to human rights and religious freedom isn't entirely unselfish. Many countries see Scientology as a destructive influence, and groups like Youth for Human Rights are there to give Scientology a squeaky clean image.
Well, Scientology gives me the tools and the certainty in life, which is what I really love about it. It makes so that I can reach out and do what I want to do. It gives me the confidence that's made it possible for me to do this human rights campaign without traveling around the world, talking to people. It's the tools that I've gotten from Scientology that's made that possible.
Superficially, it's all very nice and friendly. If it wasn't for the small group of Scientology minders constantly filming us during our visit to Youth for Human Rights, but who themselves don't like to be filmed at all. A scenario we will get used to. Our next stop is in the north of the USA in New Hampshire, and a meeting with Larry Brennan, a man who was for years in Scientology's top management and a high-up in the organization's secret service. He regards Scientology's religious and human rights work as a facade for an anti-democratic organization.
I believe Scientology to be a dangerous group for democracies because it has every intention of taking over every democracy. It's in their written policy to get rid of all the laws and constitutions in those democracies and replace it with Scientology policy. That is a specific danger because there are horrible human rights abuses carried out in the name of Scientology policy.
Larry Brennan has collected dozens of documents, many from the time he himself was an active Scientologist. He shows us guidelines written by L. Ron Hubbard which talk of expansion. The aim? To take power in a society, or to clear it, as it's known in the sect's jargon.
So when they've cleared your area and they've become the government, two, they've made the only policy that you can follow a Scientology policy, so that means it's the end of the German Constitution. It's the end of the American Constitution. It's the end of all laws that are not Scientology policy. Their goals, when they say they are not political, they are completely political and have policies from Hubbard himself to become the government and to get rid of all other laws other than Scientology's.
Berlin. Here, the Interior Ministry is addressing the problem of Scientology. Their assessment is that the organization's ideology contradicts the German constitution and human dignity. Is Scientology an extremist organization? Confrontation in the German capital. It was here in 2007 that one of the largest Scientology centers in Europe was set up. The organization is following a course of expansion while presenting its friendly face as a church.
Here, the issue is the spirit, the immortality of the spirit being. These are questions that humans have always asked. Where do I come from? Where am I going? What is the point of my existence? Who or what is God? Scientology answers these questions.
Scientology suggests that it has answers to the great questions of humanity, and that the organization's techniques offer the key to human happiness and a future worth living.
I think the most important insight for me, and for many Scientologists, is to know that one is immortal, that one is a spiritual being, that one has responsibilities for one's environment and one's fellow humans, and certain of returning to this world. They, of course, try to make it a better place.
A better place? According to the literature on offer all over the headquarters, Scientology differentiates between first and second-class humans. Only clears, so-called non-aberrants, as trained Scientologists are known, would be granted citizens' rights before the law. This, according to Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard, is a goal worth striving for. Moreover, only clears would be allowed to marry or bear children. And that's not all. The Scientology Handbook for Volunteer Priests contains a chapter called Ethics and Law. Here it states that the aim of Scientological ethics is to remove contrary and foreign views from the environment, leaving Scientology as the only true doctrine. The Munich Police Headquarters. We've arranged a meeting with the Department for Sect Victims. Here they know the totalitarian side of Scientology.
For the police, Scientology is an anti-democratic organization because the aims put forward by L. Ron Hubbard are unambiguous. That people should not be able to leave the organization easily, and if they make critical statements, they should be subjected to reprisals. Critics are faced with all kinds of legal and other activities.
While in Germany, Scientology is still in its infancy, in the USA, it's much further. We're on our way to the cult's Mecca, Clearwater in Florida. Signs of Scientology's influence are everywhere in the city on the Atlantic coast. Magnificent buildings bear its symbols. Thousands of followers use the land base, as the HQ in Clearwater is called, to attend exclusive courses on their way to supposed divinity. Here, normal humans become operating thetans, as Scientology call the supermen and women that are created by spending thousands of dollars. What precisely happens here is secret.
I've been through the OT levels. I know their benefits, but I also know that the importance of maintaining confidentiality But I'm more than happy to talk about the benefits of the OT levels. I just really can't, by my own vows, discuss them, simply because I promised not to. And it's not that everyone that does them honestly and goes up and experiences the OT levels has success. They're wonderful.
The painter Michael Pattinson turned his back on Scientology after achieving the highest level of training, the mysterious-sounding OT-8. He attended the most expensive courses over a period of 24 years. He's still waiting to feel the effect.
The public relations about OT-8 say that it's the highest thing there is in Scientology. It's the most magnificent thing ever. And unfortunately, that's not true either. I was very disappointed to see and to do OT-8 in the end because it was not what was promised either. They cannot deliver what they promised. There is no bridge to total freedom there. It was a very, very poor, small course with almost nothing on it.
His adventures in Scientology cost the artist around $250,000. The ex-Scientologist describes the cult's promises as bogus.
The promises in Dianetics do not work. The total recall, no more psychosomatic illnesses, it doesn't work. That's not true. Maybe it can do something, but it doesn't do what it says. So that's why. Then they have glasses and they have illnesses and they have everything like that. It's a shame.
Larry Brennan, too, attained the highest level of Scientology training and has his own opinion of the promises of healing.
They call a clear in Scientology was almost like some superhuman being that never got headaches, that never got ill, that was not subject to any psychosomatic illnesses, that never had accidents. And it was like a level almost above Homo sapien. I think they call it Homo novus, a whole new level that everyone else was below. But that is a complete fallacy. No one has ever in Scientology achieved that level.
The Clearwater Center is now also home to many German Scientologists for whom Scientology is both a science and a religion. The organization's leadership allows us to meet Ralf Gerhardt, a loyal follower whose statements sound much like propaganda. Our minders, who with their cameras accompany us almost all the time in Florida, are satisfied.
It's not complicated to be clear. You feel good. You have no psychosomatic illnesses or depression. I think the word was well chosen by L. Ron Hubbard. You're clear of negative influences that you can't control.
Like many other members, Gerhardt believes in the healing properties of the Scientology technique.
I play football and had a knee injury for over a year, which really hurt and wouldn't go away. And then I had a session with this Dianetics technique when an auditor asks questions, and I revisited the incident in which I injured my knee, and an hour later, the pain was gone. That was 18 years ago, and I haven't had any problems since. It works.
Well, I've gone to clear and well past the level of clear, but I need these things to read a letter, and a clear is not supposed to need glasses. I have a hearing problem in my right ear to where I need people to speak up occasionally, and I'm also clear. I've had illnesses that clears aren't supposed to have.
Our journey of discovery takes us to Los Angeles, California, the heart of the Scientology movement. The cult is strongly